Hey guys, so I'm back with second part of BlazingChat, a real-time chat application using Blazor. So I have opened this and let's have a quick recap what we have done so far. So we have created a Blazor WebAssembly project with hosted selected. So it has this server project. It is kind of a wrapper for our WebAssembly project, and this client is WebAssembly project, and then this is shared, which has the models DTOs which are shared across both of these projects. And then we added JWT authentication mechanism complete. So we added this. Then we added EF core. We added entities. So initially we have only two entities. One is for user and one is for chat message. Then we added SignalR for server. So SignalR server, we have added this hub, and then we have added an account controller which handles registration of user and login of user. So register and login. Then on the UI side, we have added two projects, two pages index, which is login page for our application. So it opens the login page. Then we have register page, so we can switch between these two. We can register, a user can register himself and he can log into the system. Then we have this chat page. So after login or registration, this page will be opened where we will have the complete chat screen, the contact list, current logged in or active online users, then chat message. All these are going to be part of this page. And to check the current authentication state. So this chat page, this is protected page. So we have implemented a custom state, that is this authentication state, and we have added it as a cascading value in our main layout. So we are setting it when we are logging in. So it has a cascading parameter, this authentication state. So when user logs in, where is it? Yeah, when user logs in, then we are setting the state, or when user registers in our system, then we are setting this state. And then after login or registration, the user is redirected to the chat page, and we have a check on this chat page if the user is authenticated. That means user is coming from login or registration page. Then only we'll allow user to see this page, chat page. If that is not the case, we are simply navigating user back to the slash page, which is index page, and in our case this index page is actually a login page. So that is what we have done so far. Let's quickly see the UI. So it's loading, and we have this index page, and if we try to access chat page directly, it is going to redirect us back to the login page. So let me zoom it a little bit. Yeah, so this is login page. We can switch to register, and from register we can go back to login page. So for login, we have created this user postman with 1 2 3 4 5 6 login, and we have this loading state, and now we are on the chat page. So it is the system has allowed this user to see this chat page because now user is authenticated. It is coming from the login page. So now next thing, we are going to design this page. We are going to enable SignalR client, and then we'll start the communication. So let's get started. So first thing, let's go to this chat page, and on this chat page let's break this page into, first thing, div class container, Then we'll have two columns. So first one, let's say first we'll add a row, then the first column will be call maybe 3, and the second one will be 9. Okay, so in this one we are going to see users, and this one we are going to see chat window or chat messages window. And on top of this we will show the current user name of the application and the current user's name and option to log out. So let's have it complete with do we have a panel in Bootstrap 5? Let's check. So panel actually gives us a nice header, at least a header 5.3. We are using 5.1. And do we have panel? Panel? No. We have cards, right? Cards only, which we used for the login and register, right? So this thing, kind of this, right? Okay, for now let's use this card. So in container, in call 12, or direct in container, let's use card, and in card header we will use those things, and inside card body we will have all this. Not the 12 but users list and chat messages. Okay, and let's add our application name here, maybe h2, and let's break this down to two columns, div class row and div class call. For now let's keep these equal width. Then in the first one we will use application name, and in the second one we will use username and option to log out, right? So username we can show directly, let's say label hi, or let's say welcome, and then username we can have from authentication state dot name. And then we'll have a button, type button, classes btn small, btn let's say danger, and it will be a logout button. Fine. Here we will show users list. For now just have this, and here we will have chat messages. Let's see how is it looking. It's loading, and again we are on this page. So maybe we'll need to have first, we'll need to have uh, browser's local storage so that we don't have to log in again and again, right? Let's try that. But before that, we have this blazing chat, we have welcome, then username, we have this logout button, and we have these two things. Okay, so next thing, can we change its background, the card header? What if we add the primary? Would it work? Yes, it will work. Can we also have something like text white? Yes, we have. Fine. Instead of busy primary, let's try it. Added a secondary color also, right? Let's see. Colors, helpers. Where are the colors? Contextual colors, something like that. Contextual classes. Hmm. Primary, secondary, success, danger, warning, info, light, and dark. So maybe, where is that? BG info, BG success, and how about success only? How about danger? It looks nice, the red color. In this case, we need to change this logout's appearance. Okay, we'll change it. But before that, let's check the left and right class, right? So left and right, what if we have in this label on this column, do we have something text to write? No. And what if we add this class here? Let me check what is the class and how can we move it to the right side. So I have used Bootstrap 3 for a very long period of time, and it was having pull left, pull right, and so many easy classes. Or we can say these are also easy, but I'm not using Bootstrap 5, that's why I'm not much familiar with all these changes. So let me find out. We have float right. No. What about this? Float right. There was float end, I think, right? Yeah, float end. And the same thing if we do for this float end. So we need to switch these position, move it to left and this one to right. Or what if we add this thing directly to this and remove float end from here? No. So we need to add float end to both of these. Then this button, this needs to be changed, maybe btn danger outline or outline danger. Outline danger. No, we need to change it to something else. Let's try warning. Fine. Okay. Okay, fine. And we need spacing from the top. So for this card, maybe we can have margin top, maybe 50 px. And for its height, uh, maybe let's have max height for this section, the card body. Here is card body, here is card body. So we can have min and max height, or let's say height, and maybe we can calculate virtual height minus 50 from top, 150 px. We have this. Okay, so for this 100 vh, so we have calci in css, so it actually calculates basically whatever we are providing in here. So 100 vh refers to 100% of virtual height, the current height we are having, viewport height, not virtual, viewport height. Then minus 150 pixel. So this 150 pixel is for I am having this 50 pixel margin from top, and this header, it maybe it is somehow around 50-60 px, and I wanted to have some margin from bottom also. That's why I have added it as 150 px. Okay, so let me copy all these to our code. So first thing, this BlazingChat call card header, we need this to bg danger and text to white. Then for this column, we need to switch their uh, positions, then float end. Same goes for this float and class float end. And then for this card body, we can have messages window, maybe a class. And then if we go to www.root, we will have this index.html, and here if we want some global level style, then we can add it to the css app.css. So we have www.root css, and this app.css we can add it here. And if we want some style that is scoped to that particular uh, component, then we can have scoped style. So we can make a copy of this page, then stop, and then we can have razor.css extension. So chat.razor, this is the component chat.razor.css. This is a scoped css file for this one. So we can add our css styles here. So in our case, we have this class, and we need height calci 100 vh minus 150 px, this thing. So let's try it. Or maybe before that, why am I having these two files? Okay, users list, and okay, let first check this, then we'll add other details. Oh, okay. We have all these things. No, height did not get applied. Why so? Message window, messages window, class, and it applied this messages window. Oh, so maybe let's first fix this. For now, we'll save the token in the local storage, in browser storage. So for that, um, let's go to index.html and let's add a new JavaScript file here. A new item in www root folder. We'll add a JavaScript file. So maybe let's call it app.js only, and we'll add a method here. So window dot, let's say, get from storage. It needs a key, and we will simply return local storage dot get item key, and then we'll add one more here, set to storage, and it will have key and value. So local storage dot set item, and we will set key and value. So now we'll access these two JavaScript functions from our Blazor code. So first thing, we need to set these items. Let's go to main layout razor page, and here what we can do, let's override on initialized async, and let's inject IJS runtime, make it async, and when this layout is being initialized, at that time we will check if we have data in our local storage. So what we can say, we can say await uh, js runtime dot invoke async and invoke void async. So using invoke async, if the JavaScript function returns some value, we will use invoke async. If the function does not return any value, then we will simply use invoke void async. So in this case, we need invoke async, and what type of value we are expecting. So it will be string, because in local storage or session storage it only accepts string for now. So we will save the serialized value here, and when we will fetch the data, we will fetch the string data, then we will deserialize it to the actual type. So in this case we need this. Then identifier means the name of the method, name of the function. In our case, the name of the function is get from storage, and we need a key. So for this we can simply have a const key here, private string const, and let's say uh, auth store key, const invalid token content class or struct. So Now we need to pass the parameters for this function. So if we check this function expects one parameter which is key. So in our case key is this one, so we will simply use this. So now we will check if auth state JSON. If we have this, so if not string dot is null or white space auth state JSON, that means we have authentication state. Now we need to fetch it, parse it. So we can parse it using JSON serializer dot deserialize, and the type will be authentication state, and the data, this is auth state JSON, and this is, we could say this is auth state. And now we need to set this data to this authentication state. So we can simply access the authentication state dot load state, and for load state we had that auth response DTU. Maybe we can convert it to auth response DTU if we need, if we want. Yeah, let's try this auth response DTU. Auth response DTU, sorry, auth state. So now this piece is ready. So this is, it will try when application loads, when it loads this layout, then it will check if we have the authentication state. If that's the case, then it should directly navigate to chat page, right? If this is the case, so we can add this thing here also, that is navigation manager. Now inject navigation manager, and now I know this is already authenticated, but still we'll check it. If this is the case, then we will navigate user to navigation manager dot navigate to chat page. Chat. Okay, this is getting part. What about setting? So setting this to the storage. So it will set whenever we are logging in or registering a user, then it should set the auth response DTO to storage. So let's copy this JS runtime. Let's move to index page, inject this, and when user is logged in, so after this load state, we can do the similar thing. So here we'll use JS runtime dot invoke void async, because this time we don't need the result. So the function name for setting, we need to return it. Return. So for setting, the name is set to storage, and it expects two parameters. So we can add comma separated parameters here. So first one is the constant, the name of the key, that is here. So we can make it public and we can move it out from here. And where should we move it? For now, let's add it in authentication state only. We can access it here using authentication state dot auth store key, and same thing for index.razor authentication state dot auth store key. This is the key name. Then value, this value should be a serialized JSON value. In this case we have this auth result which is already deserialized, so I think we should use this to this also. We can have a helper method, so we don't have to write it again and again. Serialize options, camel case. Okay, so we need to use JSON serializer dot serialize, and we are serializing a value that is auth result, in this case auth result comma value type. It needs type, right? T value. Okay, this one we can use T value and JSON serializer options. So we need to use the same JSON serializer options. Now we can have a wait here. And what is missing? JS runtime, I missed something. Okay. Or maybe let me add some utilities. We might need it on server side. No, we will not need it on server side. So let's add a folder and let's call it maybe helpers. And let's add a class here. Now let's call it JSON converter. It will have static class JSON converter, and this JSON serializer, we can have it as a static property here. So JSON serializer options, and we can say this is this thing, public static this. We can remove this. Okay, fine. Now we can have two more helper methods. One for serializing, public static string serialize, and it will have object value to serialize. And if we are overriding the JSON serializer options, then we will use it. By default, it will have null value. Now we can return JSON serializer system.text.json, and we can use this thing. If this is null, then it will use the default JSON serializer options, this thing. Same thing for deserializing. So deserializing, it will be type of T result, deserialize, T result, and it will have a string, serialized string. Then options, if we have, then deserialize, and it will use T result. It will use this thing. And if we have we have passed JSON serializer options, then it will use those. If not, it will use the default which we have set here, right? So let's make it nullable, and we should be good to make it nullable also, and this one also. Fine. So we have this thing, and let's add it to imports.razor. So we don't need to inject it, we don't need to using it. And now we have our JSON converter, we have all these options. Fine. So main layout, JSON serializer options, deserialize. So let's use our deserializer. So we will use JSON converter dot deserialize auth response DTO, and we will use value which is auth state JSON in our case, and we will remove everything else. It looks clean, right? Okay, deserializing is fine. Let's go to index page. Here also we are deserializing this one, so let's change it to our JSON converter content, and we don't need this because this is the default one we have. Fine. And same goes here. Here we are serializing it, right? So let's have it where serialized. We will use our converter, JSON converter dot serialize, and we will use this auth result, and that's also this serialized data we will use as the second parameter. Now we have joined all the pieces. No, there is one missing piece, that is we need to add this app.js to our index.html. So let's use it, and we have this app.js. Fine. So now we have all the pieces from login. Where is login? After logging in we are adding it. Fine. Okay, now let's try. It should ask for login for the first time only, and then it will store this data in its local storage, then it should remain there. This is not 100% foolproof because this is not using the expiration and all those things. So, but for now, for our purpose, we can have it. And there is some error. And what is the error? Let's see. Get from storage was undefined. Could not find get from storage. Get from storage. And where is the get from storage? Get from storage app.js. Get from storage. Right, this is right. Let's check if we have that JS loaded. Network app.js. Yes, we have this. So if we try to access this directly with some key, it is working. Okay, so maybe let's try with Windows. Sorry, not Windows. Window dot get from storage. Same thing for set to storage. Set to storage. Yes. Let's try it. Okay. So if we check in storage application, we have this local storage. For this we have I18 next LNG. This is for localization. This must be default from Blazor. And now if we try to log in this user, we are here and we can see this auth key. So it added it to local storage, and now it will be persisted in its local storage until we explicitly remove this. So now let's try to run it again. Now it should automatically redirect us to chat page. Yes, it worked. Okay, so now it make our life easier, and now we can see this height as well, right? The height is also working now. Fine. So next thing we need, or we can skip it, the top margin, right? Okay. First thing, now let's remove this welcome postman user because we are having this here, and this logout button. Chat page, where is chat page? Okay, let's remove all other pages. Close all but pen. So for this button, warning, remove SM and remove this. We are good now. And log out this BlazingChat. We remove that. We need some spacing between these two. So we can add maybe margin right to this. Margin right. Nothing happened. Okay, maybe because label is not block, in this case display inline block. Okay, we can add margin left to this one. Did not work. Margin right. Margin float right between display block. Display block. Then also, is MR is not a class anymore? Or is it MR1? No, what happened? Let's check again the utilities, spacing. M is for margin, top, bottom. Oh, start and end. Start and end. Let's add on this label MP1. Yeah, margin and 1. Let's use this ME2. And then some margin from top also for this, right? So MT3, no, MT2. Yeah, this is fine. So it is for label float end. Fine, we have this. Now next thing, we are going to have one separator here, left users list, then right side chat messages. So for users list, we can use the list component from here, this list group. We can use this list group. This one, numbered for showing online status we can show this also. Okay, so let's use this one. So users, or maybe let's create different components for this. So first thing, we'll add a folder for components. Components, and let's add a users list component. Users list component, or just call it users list. Fine. For users list, we will have this, and it will have a list of string users, and it will be a parameter, so we'll add parameter here, and it will have a default value numerable dot empty string. Fine, now we'll check if we have, or let's add a for each directly user in users, and then we'll use this. Instead of an item, we will use user, and remove this. Fine, we have this users component ready. Then next thing, we need this chat message component. So let's create another component and let's call it messages, or maybe single chat messages. Fine, let's have it like this only for now. Okay, now I think we need to have a list of string users here as well. Users with the same empty list. So we need to use our users component here. What was the name? Users list. Okay, let's add this namespace in our imports. Users list, and for this users we'll pass our users. Fine, and for chat messages we will use the chat message component. Okay, let's run it. It's loading and it should go to chat page. Yes, we have this chat messages text which is coming from chat messages component, and users list component is empty because we do not have any user, and our logic says if we have user then it will render those render that list. Fine, so I think we are good till here. Now next thing is to implement the SignalR client. So for SignalR client, first thing we need to add the SignalR server that is enabled by default, installed by default, but for client we need to add it from NuGet. So let's check in client project. uh, we will add SignalR client. Oh, my internet disconnected. SignalR client. What is the name? SignalR. Close. Open again. Managing that package. SignalR. So Microsoft ASP.NET Core SignalR client, fine. And we are using .NET 6, so let's use this version 6 of SignalR client as well. Install. Okay. Accept. Okay. Now we need SignalR on this page only, this chat.razor page only. So first thing for SignalR, we will have a hub connection. So it comes from SignalR client, hub connection, and it can be nullable. So we will initialize this hub connection when we are initializing this component. So that means in on initialized page. Now we will initialize it only if we are actually displaying this chat page. So if the user is authenticated, then only. So if it is not authenticated, we are redirecting him back. And if user is authenticated, then we will say hub connection equals, we will create the hub connection using hub connection builder, and we need to set the URL, and URL we have navigation manager right here, navigation manager dot to absolute URI, and now we need hub URL here. So for hub URL we can check server program.cs, and we have registered our hub to this URL, hubs/blazing-chat. So we will use this here, and then we'll build the connection. So connection is ready. Now we need to start this connection. So to start this connection, we can use hub connection dot start async. So we are now starting it, and because we have started this, so it will start a WebSocket, and in order to avoid memory leak, we need to dispose this. So to dispose this, we will use iDisposable. So let's use iDisposable of start async. It must be having that async disposable. Async disposable, and we will use public async value task, right? If we go to this value task dispose async, value task dispose async. Now we will simply dispose this using the null check. And now what is the issue? Value task does not contain a definition for get awaited. doing dispose async if underscore hub. Okay, let's check if the issue is this. Yes. Okay, so we need to check it beforehand. If hub connection is not null, then we'll dispose it. Okay, so we are disposing. We are now, it should connect to the chat hub. We can check it by adding a breakpoint. We already have breakpoint in our Blazing Chat hub. Let's run it. So the request should come to uh, this constructor and disconnected both of these. And it came. So our client is successfully connected to our SignalR server. So connection is done. Now we need to add other methods. Fine. So first thing, we can have our connected online users in database also, but maybe for now let's have a static collection here for connected users. So let's say private static I read only collection of string users. Maybe let's call these connected users, and we'll have a list of string private static read only collection, and this is a property, so we cannot use read only. Now it's a variable. Now we can use this. Okay, so now we have this connected users. Now whenever the connection, okay, maybe after making a connection we will check, or maybe let's have a method. So whenever user is connected to the signal or then the client should make the first kind of handshake request to our SignalR server. Okay, so in this case we will say uh, connect user, something like this, and it will have username. Okay, then we will check if this connected users already have that username. Hmm, if user can hmm, if this list does not have that user, then it will add that to the list, and because we have I read only we cannot use it, so use I collection. We can add username. Fine. Okay, and this contains, let's use case insensitivity. So ordinal ignore case. So if the casing is different, then also it will consider it. So connect user. What is the issue? That list does not have. Okay, sales health chat. Fine. So connect user. This should be the first call from our UI when user is coming to this thing. So on hub connection, after starting, we will send a request to our hub connection. We will use send async. So in order to send a request from client, we can use send async method, and in order to receive a request, we can use on method, which I'll show you in a bit. So send async, first thing, it needs method name. So method name is this connect user, and then second would be the parameter, that is username in this case, and username is display name in our case, so we can use authentication state dot name. Now this connect user, we are hard coding it. So instead of hard coding, let's use one more interface, BlazingChat hub server, for instance, right? And let's implement this here, and we'll use this thing here. We need to access this in chat page, so let's move this, move both of these. We can move both of these to shared, right? So let's add a class here, name it whatever, copy these, cut these from here, paste, and move these to their separate interfaces. Is it rename file? Okay, now we have this. So here we need to add namespace. And for this connect user, now on chat page, instead of this connect user, we can use name of I. Okay, we need to add this namespace. Let's add it to the imports, and we can use it here. I BlazingChat server dot connect user. Okay, now we said that this user is connected. Okay, fine. Now this user is connected. Now we need something from server which will say, or which will okay, when this user connected to the application, to the SignalR, then we should notify all other users that a new user came in, right? So for that, let's pin it. For that, this user got connected, so we will send a message to all the clients instead of this one. So we have clients.others. So first thing, we have clients.all. It will broadcast message to all the users who are connected to this SignalR server right now. Then we have others. This means this call will broadcast the message to all the users instead of this current user, and that is what we want, right? Because this user for me, when I am connected to the application, all other users should get notified that someone has, in this case I have connected to the system. I already know that I have connected, so for me this information does not make sense. So we will use others. Then we can use this receive message. In this case, uh, we will change this message and we will say task, and let's say on user connected, or let's say user connected. We will have user name. So instead of this, we will have user connected, and all these calls are awaitable, so we will await it. Now this call, it is actually sending a message to Signal, our client. Now on client side we need to uh, react to this event, right? So on chat page, all the reactions, all the event handlers should come from start, before start async. So we have our connection ready. Then we have on method, and for this on method, we it is a generic, we can say what type of parameter it is going to get. In this case it will get one parameter, username, that will be of type string. So string. Then next thing, we need to add the method name, in this case the method name of signal our client. So we can get it from client dot user connected. Next thing, parameter name, it will be an handler, an action delegate basically. So we are getting username. Now connected, this user got connected, so we are going to add that user to this users collection. So we can access this users collection here. Dot, because this is enumerable we cannot use, so let's add I collection. And for now let's use new has set of a string. Now this users, we are going to add this new username to the list. Now when we are adding this, it should reflect on the UI, but the problem here is this part, this is not going to execute on our current thread, right? So it is kind of outside of the current page, because it will be called explicitly on a different thread by SignalR. So whenever there is anything which I mean, whenever there is any state change outside of the page's context, then we need to explicitly tell Blazor that something has changed. So for that, Blazor gives us state has changed method. So it will trigger re-rendering. So we have added this and we said that something has changed. Now it will try to check what has changed and it will get this users has changed. So it will re-render it. When we have set this, so we are going to have other handlers also. So let's create a separate method for creating and configuring the hub connection, right? Configure hub connection. Let's do this, and let's cut this code from here, have it here, and let's return hub connection from here. Let's have it local. We will return this hub connection from here, return hub connection, and then we will say hub connection equals this hub connection. Configure hub connection. Okay. Let's try now. So we have this chat message. We don't have anything. Something. Okay. Need to remove this breakpoint. Remove it. Fine. Let's add breakpoint to other method. So this connect user. Then let's have a breakpoint to this. Okay. Now we have chat message. We need another instance so that we can show that some other user also joined this. In this case, let's say this. I'm opening it in Chrome. Let me zoom it. And oh, what happened? Let's run it again. Chat connect user. We have this username which is postman. Connected users will have count 0. Continue. Fine. Then from here we have this. Let's try to log in with some other user. Login. And when this user connected, it redirected to this chat page. It has its name, and then there is this connect user. Abhay Prince is the username in this case. Now this connected user already has one record added. Then it is going to broadcast this message. Now we are going to continue. Now this on got called. Username is Abhay Prince. This current users list is 0 because we have not fetched the previous list. User is added, state has changed. Now continue. And we are not seeing, yeah, we will not see it here. We will see it in the other window, right? Abhay Prince. So this user connected. Now if we'll try to add some other user, then it will show into this. But now what we need, why is it breaking? Okay, we'll debug it. But for now, this communication is working. Next thing we need, when some new user is connected to the system, then all previous connected users, it should be able to see all those connected users. So we need, where is this? BlazingChat hub. So we need one kind of, whenever user is connecting, we are sending broadcasting this message to all other users, but at the same time we should notify the current user about the already connected users list, right? So now we need one other method, user connected. In this case we need a list of users who are already connected. So for this we can have one simple HTTP call, simple API endpoint, or we can leverage the SignalR only. So in this case let's use SignalR only. So after user connected, we have returned this username to all other, and we will say connected users list, and we will return a list of a string, and that is usernames connected users list. Fine. And when user connected, we will say this, and at the same time we will say that clients dot caller, and caller means the current user. So we will say connected users list, and we will return this connected users list to this. So connected users. So for all other clients we will say, we will tell this new user is connected, and for the user who just joined we will send him the list of connected users. Okay, we should do it before, right? Because it should not have the current user. So let's do it first. Now this connected users list, we need to add it here. So we'll add another method here, connected users list, and in this case this is a list of users enumerable of string, and it is usernames, and in this case we will say users dot add range. We don't have add range because this is a collection. So what if we simply modify this? Cannot, because this is enumerable, so we can change it to collection. So users equals usernames, and the state has changed. Now let's see how it's behaving. Let's see the output. For this we have, this is user number 1, connected users 0, connected users list has 0, so no user. Now let's go to this new one, let's refresh this. Connect user, we are connecting Abhay Prince. Connected user already has some values. For caller we return this, and now it shows postman user, the other user which is already connected to the system, and this session shows Abhay Prince, this is the other user which is connected to the system. So now we are having this list, right? Fine. Now let's connect other dots. So next thing is, when we click on this user, it should show the messages between the current user, that is postman user, and the currently selected user Abhay Prince. Here it should show the list of messages. So in that case we are storing messages in database. That means only the username is not enough, we need other information of this user. At least we need user ID, right? Okay, so let's modify this, and we can have one DTO, auth response DTO, login DTO, register DTO, right? So for users we can have other DTO public struct record, let's say user DTO, and it will have what is the type of user ID in our entity. It is integer ID and string name. Int ID string name. Public record struct user ID and name. Move type to DTO. We have this user DTO. Now we should use this user DTO. So let's go to program.cs, not program.cs, chat hub. So instead of this I collection, it too will have list of this, and to check it, what we can try, let's change this. So let's have it as private static I dictionary with string and user DTO, int and user DTO. The key will be user ID and the value will be user DTO, that is user ID and name. Or we can have name only, but okay, maybe we will add some other information to user DTO, maybe. Let's see. So let's use the same name, connected users equals new dictionary with string and user DTO. It will have the same comparer, but for key is integer, so there is no point of comparing. We'll remove this. Now we have connected users. It will be read only. So this connected users, we will return list of user DTO. So let's change its name, usernames and enumerable of user DTO. And now we will return connected users dot values. And now contains will check, or we can say connected users dot contains key, and now we'll use the this ID. So instead of this username, when user is connecting to the system, we will get user DTO. So we will check user.id. If this user ID is the student contains key. If this has this key, if it does not have this key, then we'll add this user. So we'll add this user user.id and then user. And for user connected, we will return this user. We will broadcast this current user with user ID and name, right? So we need to modify our interfaces to use this user DTO. Let's go. So instead of this, we will have user DTO, and for client we already have this, and for this one we will have user DTO, or simply user. Okay, what is the issue for this? Dictionary to user DTO to dictionary. Okay, string int, it should be int. we added pieces for this side. Now go to this one, and now user connected, we are going to get user DTU. So this should be user DTU, and that means this collection should be user DTU, and the same thing will go to users list. This will be user DTU, user DTU. That means it should be user dot name. User DTU, this users, it will also be user DTU, so usernames, and we should be good now. Fine. Now we have users list, and now we need, whenever we are clicking on any user, so we will have a flag here or a variable here for the current selected user. So private user DTU current, or let's say selected user, and by default it should be null. Next, from this side we will say whenever we click on this, so we will add click handler, and we will say handle user click, and we will add a method here. Now, private async task handle user click, and when user is clicking on this we need current user ID, or let's say complete user detail. That means we need to pass this user ID, so it will have user DTU user, and we need to pass this user from here, that is this user. Now if we do not need any parameter, then we can use directly without parentheses, without call, without passing. And whenever we need to pass some parameter from this on click, in that case we need to use this approach. So we'll use this thing, and then we'll call this. Now we'll have the current selected user whenever we are clicking on this. Now we need to notify the parent for this chat list component. The parent is this chat page, so we need to tell the parent that this user is currently selected. So in order to pass data, so from parent to child, we saw that using the parameter we can pass data from parent to child, but now we need to pass data from child to parent. So from child to parent, what we can do, we can have one event callback type of parameter, then we can say on user selected, and this will also be a parameter. So this is for void events, but in this case we need to pass current selected users information, that is this user DTU. We need to pass this user DTU to parent. So in that case we have generic type of this event callback. So we need to tell the type. So the type is user DTU in this case. So now we need to call this. So we will say invoke async, and it will invoke this method, and this we need to add this here as a property. Now on user selected, so we can say on user selected, and this on user selected, we need to create a method here. Private async task on user selected. It will receive user DTO, and from here we can directly say the selected user equals uh, this user. We don't need async task, we can remove it, but let's keep it for now. Selected user, on user selected, we have the default event. Okay, now we will have the selected user. So in order to test it for chat messages, let's pass a parameter to chat messages. So we will use user DTO here, and let's call it selected user. It will be a parameter. It can be nullable, and we will check if the selected user is null. Then we will say please select a user from the you connected users list. Connected users list to start a conversation. Fine, if that's not the case, it has selected user. So for now, we can simply show the user's name selected user dot oh, value dot name. Okay, and we need to pass this parameter from parent, that means this chat page. So selected user equals underscore selected user. So now we have joined the missing pieces. Let's try if this complete flow is working. Okay, so it's here. Please select a user from left. Postman user. Let's restart it. Please select a user, but we do not have users. We should have users, right? When this connected, what are we missing? Checked when initialized. Okay. Send async, we pass this name, but it should actually be user DTO. But we do not have this user DTO because we have not set the user DTO to our local storage. That means our controller should return user DTO instead of user name. So generate token, go to generate token, auth response DTO. Instead of this name, it should have, instead of, this should be user DTO and this should be user. Auth response DTO, user, and now it will be new user DTO. ID is user.id and name is user.name, and this method is common between these two. Yes, so now auth response has this user DTO. So when the user logged in this case we had this auth result which will have user DTO. Fine, so that means in chat when we are getting this, sorry, when we are using this connect user method, in this case this should be okay. In that case our authentication state should also modify. So name token, and we need another one for ID. And when we say load, then we will say user dot ID, and it will be ID and it will be name. So to unload we will use this. So auth response DTO, we can say instead of this let's add, instead of name and ID let's add user DTO. So we will use prop user DTO and we will say user. And for this we will say user equals this one, and for this we will say user DTO, not user DTO, user equals default. And let's add the default of user DTO to this one also. We can use this. Fine, so user DTO we are getting. Let's go back to login. From login we are using auth result, so that is fine. From register also, okay, register we did not change the register thing. Okay, let's modify this as per this. Auth result and these lines after content should be like this. JS runtime, we need to inject JS runtime like this, and we should be. And for fetching, we are fetching it in main layout. So in main layout auth response DTO, we have this. We have this key auth state. Okay, everything looks fine here. So next thing is on chat page. Now we have user here. Okay, let's add the logout functionality. So when we say logout, we should remove the value from authentication state as well as from the local storage. So go to local storage, www.root app.js, and we will say remove from storage. Remove from storage, and we'll have key. We will use remove item. Let's have storage here. Cons storage equals window dot local storage, and let's use this storage throughout. Storage. And now the benefit of this is if we want to switch to session storage instead of local storage, so we can simply do this using this one change. Okay, so the base type for local storage and session storage is storage, so that is the type of this, so it will work for both of these. Okay, and this is single line, so we can remove this as well. All these are single lines, so we can do this for all of these. Okay, now for remove storage, on clicking of logout, which is on chat page, authentication.user.name, where is logout? Is logout, so we will say on click, and we can call it in the logout. And the logout, we will create this method here, private sync task handle logout. So first thing, we'll remove it from the storage. Do we have JS runtime? No, we don't have here. So we will inject JS runtime. So that's JS runtime. And first thing, we will say await JS runtime dot invoke void async. Name of the method is window dot remove from storage, window dot remove from storage, and the key will be authentication state dot auth store key. So it got removed from here. Then we will remove it from authentication state, unload state. After unload state, we will navigate the user back to navigate my navigation manager dot navigate to this, or we are using this at three places, right? And if I go to authentication state, I was using I notify property change, right? And I have not used it, so let's use it. Is authenticated true, is authenticated false. So instead of doing navigations at all the places, we can do it from our main layout, right? What we can do, uh, we can listen for, we can add an event handler for this. In on initialized async, after doing all this, we will say authentication state dot property changed plus equals to, let's add a method here, private void authentication state changer, authentication state changed, right? And it will have property changed is of type property changed event handler, property changed event handler, which have object sender and this. So let's use this. Now we have this, and we will add this to this thing. Now we will check if e dot property name, if it is equals to name of authentication state dot is authenticated. Although we have implemented this for this only, so this check will help us if we have added if we are triggering this on property change for other properties as well, then this check will help. In this particular case, we can remove this check if we want, but the inside code will be same. So if property name is this, then we will simply check what is the value for this. So if value for this is authenticated, then we will navigate user to chat page, and if that's not the case, we will navigate user to navigation manager dot navigate user to slash, that means login page in our case. Now we are adding this, so we need to deregister, we need to remove this event handler. So for that we need to implement disposable pattern. So I disposable, and we use public void dispose, and we need to do the opposite of this. We can try. If it will never be null because we have defined this, it will never be null, so null check is not required. Okay, now we are good. So now we can comment out all the navigation calls. So for example, this thing, this might be required or no, it won't be. If I add chat, then also that will get called, and in that case we are not using that. No, this might be required. For now I'm not sure, we need to debug it. But for index, when we use this, we don't need this, because in this case this call authentication state dot load state, this should be the last call, because after this when we say load state, we set user, we set token, we set is authenticated true, and when we are setting is authenticated, then this piece of code is going to be executed. We are setting this private variable, then we are invoking this property changed event handler, and when we invoke this, eventually this piece of code is going to be invoked. It will check if user is authenticated, it will navigate the user directly to chat page. So same thing for index page, we are good. For register page also we can remove this line, and we can move this line to the last. And then for chat page, when user clicked on logout, in that case we can skip this line, and this unload state, when we say unload state, it will reset these values and it will set is authenticated to false, which will eventually do the same thing, and it will go to main layout, else case, and it will redirect user back to slash page. Let's check it. So it's here. If we click on logout, what happened? Nothing's happened. Logout. Welcome. What happened? Oh, breakpoint. For remove all breakpoints, and then we are here. Click on logout, and we are back to slash. And if we check our application now, we will not have our auth state key. Let's do the same for this. Log out, and we are logged out. Let's log in this user. After logging in, it should redirect to chat page, and yes, it did this. Now here let's log in using this postman user, and we have this Abhay Prince here, which is the other user, and this user from here. So both of this, and I clicked on this, and when I clicked on this, it should show the current user, right? Something is missing. Let's see what is missing. So from users list page, add a breakpoint here on user selected, invoke async, and on chat page we have this on user selected user. Did we pass the selected user? Yes, we passed this. Let's try clicking on it again. It came here. User DTU has our values. Name in single quote. Okay. Then it executed this. We got it here. What's the issue then? Chat message selected user. If selected user is null, then this happens. If that's not the case, then it will show the selected user's name. Yes, should do this. Continue. Continue. It came here. Continue. What's the issue? Why is it not showing the name H2 and then blank? Because we had this user DTU. Because in invoke async we need to pass this user that we are missing. So in this case it will have this one argument, so we need to pass this user back to the parent. Let's run it again. So it's here, this one and this one. Let's restart it. Okay, we have the postman user, Abhay Prince, and okay, because of this breakpoint, continue. Because of this breakpoint, there are so many breakpoints. Yeah. Now this shows the other selected user, this shows this selected user. Fine. Now we need one more user. So let's try adding one more user. It should redirect back to home page, register. Let's call it random user, random and password same. It should redirect to chat page, and yes, it will redirect to chat page. This is random user and it has list of other connected users. So postman user and Abhay Prince are already connected, so it is showing these. And as soon as this new user, random user, connected to the system, the other two instances, those are displaying this random user also, right? So if we click on this from user, then okay, now we have three users and all these three are we can use these. Okay, fine. This thing is, let's add maybe some light background to these columns, and this is called 3. Something is not right. I need to debug it. It automatically crashes. Okay, let's try this. We have this call 3, and let's add can we use BG some secondary or some light color. It is not right. We have these light colors. Second one is this, third, fourth. The secondary should be, these are not those contextual colors. So contextual classes for list, alert, drop down. Okay, these classes are for all others. So try bg hyphen primary tools examples color scheme. Notice toast helpers colored links utilities colors background. So bg light is fine. Bg light, and now we need to I want to have some different color scheme this left side, or maybe this users list and this one. Okay, let's continue. Now next thing is we need to currently these WebSocket calls, these are unprotected. So these are not authenticated. So anyone can connect to these, but this is not what we want, right? We need only the connected users, our system users, authenticated users can access this chat hub, right? So for that we need to enable authentication for this using authorize keyword. Now if we try this, it is going to break because we have set authorize but we have not enabled authentication, right? So we need to use authentication and authorization. And for authentication, we are already using JWT bearer with all these things. Now if we run it, it is going to complain. So it redirected to chat page and it is complaining. Let's see what is the error. So the error is 401. That means unauthorized request. So unauthorized because we added authorized and the user is not authorized. And if we check network tab and if we continue, so we will check, go to network, go to WS, that is WebSocket call, and if you check BlazingChat.server, no, this is not. Oh, it broke. Okay, something I need to debug this, but okay, let's continue for now. So it is complaining about authentication. So we need to pass the current token to SignalR calls, and for that SignalR gives us this with URL. If we'll see overloads of this method, we will see it uses this configure HTTP connections connection, and if we use this, the second thing, the second parameter, so we can say options, then this options has access token provider. So this is a factory This is a delegate, func delegate, which returns the token, gets or sets an access token provider that will be called to return a token for each HTTP request. So for all the communication, for all the calls, this SignalR is going to make to the SignalR server. From here, it will attach the response of this factory to all those calls. So we need to give this. So this is a func of task of string, so we can return task dot from result and our token we can get it from authentication state. Where is our authentication state? Authentication state dot okay, for now just its name is token, right? Let's say something is not right for now. Token, this is the token, yes. So now we have set this access token provider, so it is going to attach this token to all the calls. Now it will again going to break because there is a problem with passing JWT with the WebSockets. Let's see. So one error, it said failed HTTP authentication failed, no valid credentials. If we check, if we try, it will try to make the WebSocket call. We cannot see it here because it was not able to successfully make that call. So it said WebSocket connection to. If you look at this URL, let me zoom it. Hope you can see it. WSS WebSocket protocol localhost, this is the URL. Hubs BlazingChat, this is a hub URL. ID, this is a unique context ID. Then next query string is access underscore token and then this JWT. If you check it, it is passing this access token as query string. Ideally, in all the HTTP calls, we pass the JWT as authorization header, right? The bearer token with authorization header. But because the current browsers and current WebSocket connection, it does not accept headers in WebSocket calls. That's why it passes this access token as the query string. So we need to tell our system that the token is coming in query string. Then use that query string token to parse and validate. So in order to do that, we need to go to our server. Here we have options token validation parameters. Here we need to have one handler, and what is the name of that? Events. We need to set events, and this event is JWT bearer events. So let's say new JWT bearer events, and the event we are looking for, that is on message received. So this is kind of pre-event. First we can modify the request using this on message received, then it will pass it to validation of token. So it happens before token validation. So this on message received, if we check this, received, it is a func of message received context and it returns task. So context and it returns task. So return task dot completed task. Now this thing, this, because this is, we are registering this directly to authentication JWT bearer. So this code, this is going to be executed for all the calls which are being made to our system. But this access token, this thing, so we have two controllers also, right? And maybe we will add another controller and action methods. For those it will work the same way, adding those token to authorization header. So it should work like this for all other. But for WebSocket call, for our chat hub call, it should use this. So first we'll check if this request, so we'll say context dot, we have request dot path dot starts with segment, and we can check if this request was coming for our hubs. Blazor, what was that? Yeah, if this request is for our chat hub, then only we'll add our additional logic here. So the additional logic is, we'll try to fetch the token from the query string. So we have context dot request dot query string dot value, or how can we get it, dot query. This is query collection, and we can have, yeah, it is induction. So we can use the access token, right? This was access token only. This was access token, what I remember. So access token, we'll get this JWT here. Now we'll check if we found it or not. If we found this JWT, then this context, this message received context, it has a property for token. So this token, bearer token. So if you see the documentation, it says bearer token. This will give the application an opportunity to retrieve a token from an alternative location. In this case, our alternative location was query string with this key access token. So we got this. We are going to set this token as JWT. And now we should be good. Now we got, so for all other requests, it will simply skip this if, it will return this task.complete task, and it will try to do other operations as it was doing before. And for our hub calls, it will come here, it will move inside this if, it will try to access the token. If it did not get token, it will simply pass and it will return that unauthenticated or unauthorized error. And if it found the token, then it will set it to context.token, and it will try to validate it, and it will authorize our hub. So this will work in this case. Let's, enough talking, let's see it in action. And it's coming here. Let's open this, restart, refresh, and we got this. We got the user. That means the call was successful, right? And now we can check our call. Where is WS here? WS. This is BlazingChat, and we have this. We can see the messages here. So if we can see it connected, then outgoing message was connect user with this argument ID1 postman user. Then we got this message from WebSocket connected user list. So it is working. So authentication, authorization for SignalR, it is working. Now this video is already very long, and now we need to move to third part. I was thinking maybe it will be completed in today's part only, but it took time because I was not prepared for it. I have never almost all, not almost all the videos on my channel, all those are impromptu. So I do not have any preparation before these videos. I got time today, so I started working on it with you guys only. So I was not certain about the time, so maybe we'll complete it in the next part. So if you like this video, please like, share it with your colleagues and friends, and subscribe my channel. Don't forget to subscribe my channel and press the bell icon so that whenever I upload the third part, you will get the notification for this. And if you have not checked out my first part of this video where we set up all the things which I explained in the first 2 to 3 minutes, the overview of the first part, so I'll add it in the I button from here or here somewhere, and I'll add it to the description also. And the code for this is on GitHub, so I'll push this current code, the second part code, also to the main master branch, so you can pull the code from GitHub and you can play around with it. And yeah, I'll be back with third part very soon. Bye bye.